Good morning, it's Tamika Chambers, and we're at another Monday, a day that is known to be, according to research, one of the days where people experience cardiac events. And you often, you can question, why is that so, given that the weekend where you're supposed to relax and enjoy your time with yourself, with your family, with your friends, why are people experiencing cardiac events? And I believe one of the reasons is that we're still holding on to these thought patterns that in fact are travel through our nervous system to our brain, to our heart, to our lungs, because it's that big communication channel in our bodies that tell us, it feeds our bodies these messages that we continue to play inside of ourselves. And often, as you noted, I've been talking about those barriers that can impact us achieving our divine purpose. I believe that everybody is here for a reason. We have these gifts, these talents, these abilities that, along with our experiences, is a way of us expressing our divine message. And instead of us often embodying and embracing and nourishing our spiritual gifts, we're embodying, embracing, and nourishing, as well as expressing these emotions, these feelings that tend to rob us of the peace, the clarity, the determination, the motivation, the just conviction in what we're here to do. I've talked about doubt and other people's opinions and our, perceived failures in life that we tend to draw back, and we tend to, again, increase more doubt and increase more fear and these other like-minded emotions. It becomes a cycle, right? The cycle. And I've talked about that, and this cycle becomes a cycle of pain. Expressed in many ways, misuse of the human body, misuse of ourselves, misuse of others, abuse, insecurities, feel like you have to dominate others, control others, because you feel like you're not in control of your life. So you have to somehow express that in a way. Overeating, overweight, inactivity, chronic health conditions, rare diseases. When we think about the body attacking itself, what body can continually to survive and thrive if we're sending messages that we're not good enough, that because I didn't achieve my goal, whatever it may be, pass a test, get a job that you wanted, marry the person that you wanted to marry, have the lifestyle right now that you wanted to have, whatever it may be, instead of us going forward and moving on and learning from those lessons, we're still in the past. We're still caressing our old wounds, if you will. And today's topic, much like the other thought patterns that I've talked about, again, doubt, failure, perceived failure, other people's opinion, is it affects our lives in so many areas, in so many ways, right? Because again, we're getting to the thought patterns. As you notice, I'm not talking about these physical barriers. I'm not talking about Uncle Joe, Sue, or your employer, or your husband, your wife, your children. Often we think that they're the ones that's preventing us from achieving our divine purpose. And it's not so. It's much of the thought patterns that we hold about ourselves, about others, and about our life in general, our life's meaning, our purpose for being here, right? And so when we think about this, it has different faces. It has multi-dimensionals, if you will. And it stems from, we're going to do what's always been done. Number one, that's the face of it. We're just going to continue what we've been doing. We're going to continue our livelihood and who we've been hanging around with. We're going to continue how we're raising our children. We're going to continue, if I have this business, this family business, you're going to continue in that. That's what you're here to do. You're going to continue to do that. Forget about what you think, the desire for music, the desire to write. Forget about all those other desires you have. We're going to continue what we've been doing. We're going to continue how we talk to our children, whether it's profanity, cursing. We're going to continue how we treat our children. We're going to continue how we eat. And because there is obesity in our family, because we have done this, you're going to be obese too. You're going to have these back pain. I've shared before where a neighbor told me when we were living in Ohio, and he said he was talking about his back troubles. And he just really summed it up as if my mother had back problems, so I'm going to have back problems. And that was it. Even though he had complained and voiced his concern and, there was a glimpse of hope, maybe he could get over it. He fell back into, this is the way it's always been. So you can imagine probably the conversation that he's having with someone else, probably in his family, maybe a son or a daughter or a grandchild, and they start experiencing back problems. Well, your mother had back problems. My mother had back problems. I have back problems. It runs in the family, right? How many times have you heard that? It runs in the family. Just because we're all overweight or just because we're all having eating issues or whatever it may be, don't worry, it runs in the family, right? Because diabetes runs in the family, don't worry, it runs in the family. You're going to have that. This is the way it's been, because I experienced teenage pregnancy, you're going to experience it too. Because I was on drugs or smoked, you're going to smoke too, and I remember being in the hospital as a practicing nurse. And I was taking care of someone who had chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. As you know, one of the common issues you can have with smoking. And she said, and my heart just went out to her because she was she could barely wash her face. And she said, my father used to smoke. And I wish he had told me the problems that happened with smoking. I saw it, but I still smoked, right? And so it's this is the way it's been. This is the way it will be. And she saw her father go through COPD. So she was going through it herself, right? And I talk about why we tend to take on others' pain, right? Just sometimes we do that because we want to, we love them. We want to see what it's like and we feel like we don't deserve better than that. And then there's the other side of us that we want to experience it and we're going to try to see if we can beat it. And sometimes we do, and sometimes we end up still suffering the same results as them. But that's the one face of, I've run my business this way. I'm continue to do that. I lived in this neighborhood. I'm going to continue to live in this neighborhood. We continue to do what we have always done, right? And then we see another side of it that I want to do better. There's this desire to do better, yet there's still this mental pattern that the doubt and stuff that I can't do better. So there's a desire to go off to college and be great and do something great with your education. But yet still we fall back and, we drop out of college because then we start doubting ourselves. And who am I to do better? Even when we have a business and we see people having a business and we're like, I can do that. And we start getting things and start doing things. And all of a sudden we wake up and there's this lack of motivation. There's this extreme doubt and that keeps us in bed and keeps us making even poor decisions with our business because there's this underlying doubt that we can't be successful, right? So we're going to continue what we've always done. And then we're not going to continue. We're going to try something different, but there's still this doubt and guilt and shame. Who am I to do something different than my family? This tradition of it. You've seen it where marriages, where people, this is tradition. You marry this person or this lineage and that's it. You have kids and I don't care if you don't love them and you're going to do it. Right. And it's not about it's never about, for me, I think, in bringing shame and guilt. That is not the intent. The intent is to make us more aware. Because as I was telling my son, the more aware you are as to what you're doing, you seeing your vision, your goal, or seeing what you're doing, these repeat behaviors that you're doing over and over again, the more aware of you are, the more you open yourself to the truth. There is another way. There is a different way of living. I can do something different. One of the things my mother told me is that you have the right to create the family that you want. And so we do devotion. You know, we've had issues with school, and our kids are out of school and they're in homeschool, and they're having more freedom and flexibility, and, you know, helping them to figure out why they're here and hone in their gifts, their talents, one of the things that I was going to share, I thought about sharing, was this weekend I talked to my husband about how our kids don't like to be rushed. And I believe that's part of nature. Nature is not about rushing. There's a time and a place for everything. And I can see the growth mindset. I can see my children looking to see, as we converse, you know, this cycle of pain and these thought patterns. When somebody calls you stupid or dumb, is that more about you, or is that more about the other person? So I can see, you know, the thought of seeing the person's heart, seeing our heart, seeing your individual heart, where you are, assessing where you are and what you want to do with your life. And so there's this thought that this other third dimension of thought tradition is that I've seen it, I've dealt with it. There is another way. There is another way to live my life in such a way that I do not have to repeat what I went through. You know, and I speak about this. I actually write about this in one of my memoirs about parenting, is that, you know, often we can be raised in an environment that we don't totally agree with as a child. You know, people have said, you know, my parent was this way. They yelled at me a lot. They were very strict. We got whoopings all the time. And that affects your self-esteem and your mindset, and you know, trying to make sense of this world. Because when you're angry, do you hit a child? When you're angry, do you curse out a child? You know, you have all these thoughts that are floating around in your head. And my thing is that if you feel it's something that you don't like, if you feel that you were raised a certain way, if you feel that, you know, I don't want to be a part of this business, this lifestyle, I don't want to eat like this, I want to eat better. I feel like my body is the vehicle for my divine message. And I feel like whatever choices I make about my body, my health, I have to deal with it. I am with myself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And every single pain, ache that comes across, I feel. Uncle Joe, Aunt Susie, Bob, Rick, Jane, Tiffany, whoever in China, they don't feel that. So I have to do what is right for me. I have to physical activity, even if nobody is doing it with me or nobody in my family is doing it. I have made that decision that I deserve better, right? I'm becoming more of a student of my health. I'm not just eating whatever it is that someone gives me, that I get to make these choices about my body, the way I raise my children. If I decide to use profanity, if maybe I didn't know a lot about my body and being a vehicle of my message, divine message here on earth. So I'm going to teach my children. I'm going to tell them, hey, your body belongs to you. This is your right. You have a right. No one can touch or violate your body in such a way that it is unpleasing or it's unnatural to you or it hurts you. You know, I've been saying that to my children since they were little, since they were trying to potty train. You know, even before then, I was talking to them while they were in the womb. Because I feel like I have a right to design or create the family that I want, that I desire. I have a right to have children that have principles. I have a right to have children who don't want to, who isn't about making someone else look bad so they can look high and bump themselves up because they are pushing someone else down. I have a right to tell my children about eating that, you know, pizza slices, you know, 2-3 slices of pizza, and that's it. You don't eat a whole box. I have a right to take our children walking and encourage them exercise, and a right to talk to them about what they look at and what they do and friendship and what does that mean, to have the conversation. If you, whatever it is that you liked about growing up and you felt like it resonated with you and it made you a better person, keep it. But if it's something that you feel like really impounded or had a negative effect on your self-esteem, on what you do, if you really didn't resonate with something that someone did, why continue it? Why continue to be a part of a business that drains you more than enlivens you? That you feel like you can really express all your gifts and talents. Well, I'm talking to NCLEX candidates and helping them to pass their exam. You know, if you start thinking about it as you're watching this, think about, you know, how you've studied in the past for your exam, how you study for a test, even physical therapy. One person on TikTok said, Tamika, this is for people that are taking their other exams. This is just not for the NCLEX. But whatever you're studying for, whatever you're doing, if you are so used to doing something a certain way, why continue if it's not working? People that are not passing their NCLEX and they're continuing studying the way that they're studying. And I show them there's a different way of studying, of incorporating this information so that you understand it more instead of just memorizing it. Because you get out of that cycle of pain, because in that involved, if you continue to do something that really is hurting you, you feel like it's hurting you more than helping you, you end up having that doubt, that guilt, that shame because you're not passing your exam. You start questioning your life's meaning and purpose. You know, when you start thinking about, you know, people that are hurting themselves and hurting others, because, you know, and it's a quote, who inspired me to do this, looking at the barriers of achieving your purpose, Dr. Miles Monroe, and that where purpose is unknown or not known, abuse, misuse is inevitable. People misuse their bodies, they misuse things, because you don't see the significance in that. You don't see the beauty in the process of becoming the highest version of yourself. That there is no failures. There's a student who is gradually learning and evolving to become the highest version of yourselves. And that means looking at what you used to do, what people in your family used to do. If it does not resonate with you, why continue it? Why continue? Why continue to hurt yourself unless you feel like I don't deserve better? Because that's what it really gets to. If you're continuing something that continues to bring that guilt, that shame, that doubt, that resentment, then it should point you to you and not your family members. What is it in me that is going on with me that I would continue to do something that does not benefit me? It could be a relationship. It could be how you're taking your tests, how you're running your business, how you're taking care of your body, eating, drinking water, exercising. Because if you truly love yourself, and that is the foundation of anything and everything that we are to do here on earth. It is the greatest commandment. I hear, you know, people talking about the Bible, and the thing is that it's not so much about religion. It's not about religion to me, because it was never, it's not about religion. It's about living a way of life that really brings out who you are, that resonates with you. Living your life in such a way that you are living and you're letting other people live their life. There is enough for people to live their life. There is no need for greed and dominion and slander and bitterness and resentment and vengeance. It is when we get in these thought patterns, these cycles, just like a tornado, right? If you think about a tornado, a twisty tornado, you get in this thought pattern and all of a sudden you're moving around like that tornado that is moving around. Your thoughts are going around. And as a student of life, and when you inject love in that, you tend to get out of that twister and you stand and you observe what's going on. And you start realizing this is not the way of life. It is not to be engaged in a storm. We are to be the observers, are the ones who calm down a storm. And so when you look at tradition, when you look this week and we think about the chronic health conditions, diabetes, heart disease. This being a day that many people have diabetes, have heart related issues. I want you to ask, is tradition, am I living my life that is true to me, myself, or am I living it based on these patterns that I have before me or set before me? What am I looking at? Am I looking within or am I looking without to guide my life to nourishing, embodying and nourishing the truths that are within me, the spiritual gifts, the compassion, the kindness, the joy, the peace? Am I nourishing and expressing my gifts and my talents in such a way that they are unique for me and not someone else? But they are unique and they feel good, and I feel like this is who I am. This is who I am becoming. I'm becoming the highest version of myself. There is no competition. There's no comparison. It is just within me that I'm bringing out the best of me. Because you don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to sit and wallow in all of these emotions and feelings that are draining you. One of the things I mentioned in another one, and I'll wrap it up. One of the things I mentioned in one of my other memoirs, the manuscript Compass, is that in one hand, we hold the detonator. And in another hand, we hold the keys to unlocking who we are. And it's a choice. It boils down to a choice. What we daily decide to tell ourselves, what we think, and what we decide to express. And every moment, in every way, we have a choice if we just sit back and become one with ourselves instead of one with other people and what they've done and what they've been through. We are not. And often people think that you are betraying your family, your history, your lineage, because you're not doing the same things that they did. But for me, what I want to think and what I want to challenge you to consider is that you're making it better. You're making this lineage, this tradition better, because you're encouraging people to think for themselves. You're encouraging them to look within and get their truths. You're encouraging them to be themselves, to become more of you. And yes, I have all of this as a background, and I can pick and choose what I want and what resonates with me. But in actuality, I am the original. I am the me of my generation, right? And that's lovely. That's lovely when you can be you in the face of it all. And that's our challenge. That's part of our challenge. When you look at these barriers, they become an opportunity. A challenge is an opportunity to become more of you. That despite seeing what those you love so dear, what they're doing, you are choosing to be yourself. You are choosing to explore, to embody your truth, to nourish it, and to find your gifts and put them all together. And yes, I've been through this, but it's made me better. It's giving me an opportunity to reflect who I am, because no experiences define you. They are here to help you reflect your truth. All right. So I hope this has been beneficial to you. And looking at tradition, what in your life are you continuing that you know is probably holding you back, or feel an urge to hold you back? Because we have that guidance within us. We tap into that. It will tell us when we're doing something wrong. It'll tell us, just like a puzzle, and you fit the right little piece in there. I've had moments like that where you fit it in, and that's where it belongs. So ask yourself, what am I doing that is unlike me? And what do I need to start doing to become more of me? I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. As always, make this lifetime great, because I believe no matter what, you still can. We are on a journey of evolution, spiritual evolution. I'll talk to you guys soon.